today with Sebastian Patel, co-founder of Franc. Thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah, no problem, Thomas.
Sebastian, first of all, what is Franc? What do you guys do?
So we built an investment app to help everyone invest simply and easily. In the South African context, you have a lot of people that don't have access to investments, and we think we know why. Complexity is a big thing. There are just too many products, too complex for people that are not financial people to understand. The other problem is a lot of these financial service providers have minimum investment amounts, which for a lot of people, they can't access. For example, often these products have got if you're investing on a monthly basis, 500 Rand a month is what you need to have as a minimum to invest. Alternatively, if you've just got like an ad hoc once-off payment, can be up to 10 or 20,000 Rand as a lump sum. So we've tried to remove the complexity and remove the minimum. So for us, there's no minimums. Guys can come in with 100 Rand or 200 Rand and invest on our platform. And also we try to make the language as easy to understand as possible on our app.
Okay, well, so anyone could invest, someone from the township having a leftover of 20 Rand a month that they want to invest and make their money back, basically.
Correct. Yeah. So we don't want to, exclude anyone. It's an app only, so they need to be a smartphone user in order to access it, and preferably a banked customer. Okay. Which in South Africa, 80% of the population is banked. A lot of people use cash, but a lot of people are banked, and we need, it's not very efficient to deposit cash into an account. The costs are just too high. So, if it's an EFT or something like that, it makes it a lot better for us and for the customer.
So would it also work with mobile money? Or?
So potentially, it could. We don't have it at the moment, but there's no reason for it not to work. Yeah. The only thing is that if we could sort the payment rails out so that the costs are not high, where we deal with minimums, with no minimum, if a guy's putting in 100 Rand, we want to get that whole 100 Rand to invest for him. We don't want it to be 98 Rand and all of a sudden he's 2% down on his investment.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how did you come up with this idea?
So it's actually my co-founder, Thomas Brennan. It was his, the idea of Franc was his genesis. He worked at a financial institution previously, and I think he got frustrated with the complexity around, how they were creating products. And he said, it doesn't need to be, financial services doesn't need to be so complex. And he saw a gap in the sort of savings and investment market where we could tackle it, where people, don't have access to products. And, I think I know why fund managers haven't digitized their offering is because a lot of them rely on sort of referrals from financial advisors. And to the extent they digitize it and those guys won't have a job. So they need to keep the current way of doing things, going.
Okay,
so it gives us disrupting. Correct. That we're disrupting that and the no minimums. In discussions recently with one of the fund managers, they actually said, no, we have this minimums because we want to be seen as like an aspirational higher end brand. So but in doing so, they're excluding a big part of our population.
Okay. I mean, and maybe that's self-evident, but let me just ask, why is it important for all of the population essentially to be able to access these financial products?
Yeah, financial inclusion is a huge thing in the continent and South Africa, especially. If you look at, South Africa has often been seen as like one of the most unequal countries in the world. And that's from an income inequality perspective. I think our Gini coefficient there is 0.67, which is very high. But what's even worse is that if you look at the wealth inequality, it's 0.94. And that's because people, haven't had access to investments, and generally the return on capital is higher than labor. So that gap just keeps on widening. So if you give people access to access to the stock market, hopefully we can change that. And just interestingly enough, that stat of 0.94 for wealth inequality, if it was 1, it would mean that one person in the country owns all the wealth. So it just shows you how skewed wealth distribution is.
Wow. Let me ask you, because I imagine that to be a big challenge. How do you convince or address people that never had this opportunity to invest in these financial products? how I access them. How do you convince them that it's important and that can make a difference in their life? And how do you gain their trust, essentially?
Yeah, so it's quite difficult, as a startup in the financial services industry where you're taking someone's money to build their trust, Yeah. So it's something that we have to work on sort of day by day. All the sort of awards that we win, Seed Stars, MTN, App of the Year, that kind of stuff, gives us more credibility and validation. But yeah, it is a tough sell for people. But people, the savings culture in South Africa actually is not that bad. It's people are putting it into the wrong place. Like the Stokvel savings culture, people are saving a lot of money through Stokvels. It's just that it's sitting in a savings account, or it's like in a tin can or under mattress. So part of our job is to educate people to say, listen, actually, if you invested with us or in any other product where you can get a good return, it's much better for you. You can get 7% if you invest in our money market fund, for example, rather than losing money effectively by keeping it in a tin can.
Through inflation.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the risk? Because now you have maybe people that don't earn a very big income. Now they give you the money, but there's also a risk associated with any financial product. Right?
Yeah. So effectively on our app, we've got a robo-advisory element. So someone can come onto the app and decide how he wants to invest their money. So we have some people that just use it for convenience, even though they might be financially savvy. Alternatively, those people that are not financially savvy, we have a risk assessment tool on the app. So we ask, I think it's 8 simple questions like age, income, debt, savings, expenses, etc. And then we allocate, so we suggest a split in terms of cash and equity for them. And generally, someone who hasn't got a lot of money or has got a lot of debt, we'll suggest that they put more of their money into the cash fund, which is almost risk-free.
So the cash fund means you can take it out in any time.
So both our funds, there's instant liquidity. It's sort of on like a T+3 timeline that we work, but the cash fund is a money market fund, so it's it's very safe sort of money market investments that are invested in. So that if you look at the last 20 years, there hasn't been there's always been a decent return. The risk of capital loss is almost zero.
So now Thomas comes up with this idea. You two, how did you meet?
So we studied together at University of Cape Town. So we stayed in the same residence at UCT. So Thomas is an engineer. My qualifications, I'm an actuary. But we stayed in the same residence, same flat. So we became friends then, and sort of stayed friends. And then I had sort of kept tabs on what Frank was doing, and then I had left my job at an investment company last year, and I just took some time off, did some traveling, and then when Tom said sort of the business pivoted from like an insurance angle to a savings and investment angle, it made a lot of sense to me, and I was keen to join the business.
So Thomas had already launched a business initially, and you kind of just started understanding, observing what is he doing there, and then decided to jump on board.
Yeah, so I joined earlier this year, and sort of mid last year there was a beta version of the app that was out, which Tom sort of coded himself. And that was, that was our sort of first product, which we've refined into the product that you see now. Get the UI and the UX much better, and added the risk assessment functionality as well to the current product.
So, how did you finance this entire business? How did you? And let me say, you had a job before.
Yeah.
So you were earning a decent income. How did this transition work for you?
Yeah. So we've bootstrapped up until now. We actually got our first external investment in this week. So that cash has hit our account. Thank you. And we are on a fundraising sort of exercise at the moment to try and raise a bit more money. But up until this week, we had bootstrapped. So I think there were 4 or 5 of us from the team that contributed money for salaries and other expenses.
Okay. And it's also a business where you have you have the cash flow right away, right? Because the first customer already gives you, although very small, cash flow. Yeah. Was it already enough from bootstrapping to come to a break even? Or?
No. You see, in our game, sort of break even is quite far away because we need scale. Yeah. So our fee, our business model is that we charge a 1% fee on our funds under management, which includes the fee charged by the underlying fund manager.
Okay.
So, for example, we'll earn a net fee of 70 or 80 basis points, which even
0.8%.
Yeah. So even if you've got R1 million funds under management, it's only 7,000 or 8,000 rand a year that you're earning. So again, it's we need scale in order to make this profitable.
So you bootstrap to prove the point that it's possible to do that, and that it's addressing a need. How was it received from your target market, or did the target market or the people that are actually using it look different from what you expected?
So we're still quite young. So we expected sort of customers like market entrants that don't have a lot of money, that can't access the product to access it. But also we're seeing, like I said, people that have some cash, but just like the convenience of not having to sign documents and go into a center or whatever. You can sign up and be done in like 3 or 4 minutes with your KYC, with everything. So you've got someone that's willing to, maybe who could access the product directly, but willing to pay a bit of a premium just for the convenience.
Okay, well, that does sound convenient for real. Would I be able to access it from any other African country or even from Europe, or is it only South Africa for now?
Yeah, so at the moment it's for South African residents. And, we've got, local legislation that we need to comply with. So the current product is for South African residents. But if we get it right here, there's no reason why we can't plug it into other jurisdictions that have a similar need. And it's not only emerging markets. I think some developed markets where the products are just too complex, our offering can be a much simpler product which people can use. The one thing that we would need would be effectively the investments to plug into. So, it can't be a place where there is no money market or stock market,
Otherwise, you need the right underlying products to
offer the clients, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Seb, how did your family react when you decided, okay, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to become this entrepreneur, I'm going to bootstrap, put all my money into this thing?
Yeah, so I guess for me it was slightly different because I had taken a break. Also, I hadn't been working for 6 months. But I guess my family trusts me. They trust the decisions that I make. I think they knew it was going to be tough and that it's going to be a financial commitment. But I didn't get any negative feedback.
Okay.
I think
supportive environment.
No, for me it was supportive. Yeah.
Okay. What are your biggest challenges at the moment?
So, the 2 biggest challenges for us is fundraising. So raising money for the business. We're sort of in a seed capital stage at the moment, and I think it's quite tough in a South African context. A lot of the entities now, like the VC entities, are becoming more successful and they're looking at more Series A opportunities, which means that there's a sort of a layer that's missing. And obviously the biggest challenge is how we distribute our product. How do we get people to use it, especially with a very limited marketing budget, and like you touched on earlier, the element of trust. You still need to build that element of trust for people to use your product, especially when they're giving you money.
Yeah. Did you have any breakthroughs and any learnings with that regard of how to market it?
So we're doing sort of digital marketing on social media, but we've seen the biggest traction that we've gotten on the app so far is where there's like a genuine article written about us. So we featured in a MoneyWeb article recently for best places for South Africans to save. We got big uptick after that. When we won the MTN App of the Year, there was a big uptick because people can, you're a lot more visible and credible, if an organization like MTN is, giving you that kind of award.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about partnerships? Would that be something that could work?
Yeah, so we're looking, especially on the distribution side, we're looking for partners that have reach but don't have an investment or savings platform to offer their clients. Whether that's a telco, whether that's an insurance company that doesn't have a savings or investment, offering. Definitely. In terms of partnering with other financial services companies, we always want to be seen as independent. So we don't want to be forced to offer someone's products on our platform just because they're a shareholder of ours or partner of ours. We think the independence is key because we want to offer our clients the best products, at the best prices.
Yeah.
But I think we'll be successful if we can find partners that we can distribute the product through.
Okay, that makes sense. Just from your learning journey so far, what do you wish you had known before?
I think we sort of knew it was going to be difficult to raise money. We knew it was difficult, to distribute the product, because the reason people haven't done this before is because it's always seen as too difficult, right? So, like, how are you going to get 1 million people to use this product? The banks would have done it already, or this firm would have done it already. So I think a lot of those things, we knew. From a personal level, for me, coming from a finance and banking investment background into a tech company, I'm learning lots of different skills, like marketing, and I need to understand a bit of what the tech guys are saying. And I guess I also knew that was going to be a challenge, but I don't think there's anything at the moment that's totally unforeseen. Maybe the one thing is that we have to comply with phase, the local sort of legislation. That process and getting us accredited has taken a lot longer than what we thought. I think we initially started about a year ago to get our license done, and we still haven't done it. So at the moment, we like piggybacking off someone else's license.
Okay. So that's a proper barrier to entry. For you, but then also for the ones to come.
Yeah, for everyone. Yeah.
Did you have any mentors or any support to really understand the field or something? Are there people that have really propelled you forward? Personally, or even with the business?
Yeah, personally, probably not. I've obviously got like my own sort of network that I sort of rely on, but maybe not specifically for the business. One or two guys at VCs that have been very helpful in opening doors and helping us understand, the nature of what we're trying to do and the landscape and that kind of stuff. That's been very useful. The more people you speak to, the more you learn. The more,
Okay. My final question would be: what would be your advice to a young South African entrepreneur today?
Yeah, it's not an easy landscape out there. It's a challenge raising money. I'm from an investment background, and it's been difficult for me to raise the cash for the business. But if you've got a good idea, I think the most important thing is try and build a strong team around you, and then go for it. Even if the idea isn't great, if you've got a strong team, you'll figure out what you should be doing. If your idea is great and you're just you by yourself trying to carry the burden of it, it's probably not going to work. So I think get guys around you that you can trust and that are solid, and then you'll make a plan of whatever you do.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks, no problem.